Well, that played out exactly the same way as the last time we faced a championship side. Only in that game, Marcus Rashford was on the field when we earned the penalty at Preston. So that's back-to-back 3-0 wins on the South Coast and some Premier League history made in the process. Just what we needed. Presented by 24/7 Services, let's review the three key issues or moments that defined Southampton 0, Villa 3. Welcome inside the parlor here in Delta, British Columbia, Canada, which is being bathed in spring sunshine right now. I actually mowed the lawn for the first time yesterday, or at least what the raccoons left of my lawn. These are Canadian problems. And I'm recording this on a Saturday night after barbecuing. Of course, I won't know what's going to happen in the league on Sunday, but Nottingham Forest had another wobble on Saturday, losing late to Everton, and now they are very much about to be reeled in. So this race for the Champions League places includes ourselves, Manchester City, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Nottingham Forest, and we play two of those teams within the next 10 days. Would you bet against us? Also bathed in sunshine on Saturday, Southampton and St. Mary's Stadium, which will make a fine championship venue next year. Southampton also home to some very good music over the years, including one of my personal favorites, Band of Skulls. Paul White from We Are Villans was our video correspondent for this one. Did you know that apart from being on social media like TikTok, X, and Facebook, We Are Villans also has its own YouTube channel where the group shares its traveling tribulations. Why not have a look? Add it to your regular YouTube rotation of viewing. As you might expect in a battle of 20th versus 5th, at least at the time of recording this, Villa will have had some joy against a managerless side that is preparing for life one floor down. And in a game where the visitors had to face a low block, long balls were actually quite rare, but we were accurate on 73% of those. Those are passes of 20 yards or more, and one of those long balls unlocked the game. You don't see this very often either. 2 of the 3 big chances missed by Villa were from 12 yards out, which we'll discuss later. And one thing that was quite noticeable in this match was how we were winning second balls all over the park. And that was reflected in the duels won statistic. 45-31 for the visitors, most of those on the ground. More and more, you're hearing Unai Emery and other managers talking about winning your duels. A couple of real quick ones for you. Emi Martinez was a virtual spectator on Saturday. Maybe that's why Unai Emery decided to start him over Robin Olsen, because he knew he wasn't going to be stressed in this game. He had 30 touches in 90 minutes. He completed 22 of 23 passes, and he did have an early-ish save to make off of Cameron Archer, of all people. But then, to preserve his 5th clean sheet of the season, he did have to make a flying save late. And it's tough when you're just watching the game and you have very little involvement and all of a sudden one of those goes flying at you. This is Tyler Dibbling, dribbling. I couldn't wait to work that one in. Aston Villa is apparently one of many clubs that have made early inquiries into the young man's services, knowing that poor old Saints are about to go through the horrendous ordeal of a relegation fire sale, like the divorce garage sale, where everything has to go at discounted prices. Dibbling turns 20 in February, and I'd be very curious to know what the asking price will be. I was also thinking about poor old Cameron Archer on Saturday, who will be facing his old teammate Jayden Philogene in the championship next year. We really did pull down both of those clubs' pants over those two players, didn't we? While we're talking about fancy footwork, how about this from Jacob Ramsey in minute number 38? He skins his opponent before accelerating away. And one of the big decisions Unai Emery has to make in advance of Tuesday is whether Ollie Watkins is going to start with Marcus Rashford on that left-hand side, which of course will affect one of our own, JJ. Big issue number 3, penalty problems. Oh, penalty problems rear their ugly head again with our club. Marcus Rashford had been substituted 3 minutes before Ollie Watkins was dumped to earn our first opportunity from 12 yards, and Marco Asensio, unsurprisingly and probably rightfully, decided to assume the responsibility. After all, he was the one who buried the penalty at Club Brugge, even though he did slip in the process. Maybe that was a harbinger of things to come. And it's so surprising to me because in open play, Marco Asensio has been utterly superb for us. But these are two of the worst penalties I've seen in a long time. On the first one, he does the stutter step, never looked really assured. Normally he goes bottom left from his viewpoint, but he puts it at an absolutely perfect height for the goalkeeper. The second one, I kind of thought Watkins might step up for. Instead, it's Asensio again. That took some bolas. You know, you missed the first one poorly, and then you say, no, I got this one. And what does he do? He goes to the right again, this time along the ground, but it's another really poor penalty after the stutter step. It just never looked convincing, and his blushes were spared by a very alert John McGinn, who scores his first Premier League goal of the season. But seriously, our penalty record this year has been woeful. That's 4 misses. Tielemans, 2 from Asensio, and the Watkins 1 against Celtic. We have players now who can dribble and earn those penalties. We are desperate for somebody to consistently convert them. I don't know if it's the same thing in the UK, but here, when the spring comes around, the flowers pop up and so do the for sale signs. This is a very popular time for real estate, and that makes sense. Rejuvenation, renewal, change of scenery. And oftentimes, property owners will try to spruce up the curb appeal by doing some landscaping or putting on some new paint, maybe new materials, and 24/7 Services is doing this all around the country right now, including Burton-on-Trent. Now, this property isn't necessarily for sale, but the scissor lift was out on a beautiful day, and the windows were getting done, and the primer was being put on because the owner just wanted to give his exterior a little more sex appeal. But if you are in that world of flipping or renting, letting, then obviously updating your kitchen or bathroom can add significant value to your property or the rental price. And this is where the 24/7 Services decorating team does not miss from the penalty spot, even if you're not selling and you just want to do more culinary damage in your brand new kitchen. Get the free fair quote process started with 24/7 Services. I'm roasting in about an hour. I cannot tell you how much I could use a second oven. So the roast is in one, the Yorkies or the veg are in the other. And you know where to find the numbers by now or how to get a hold of the company through their website. Big issue number 2, successful substitutions. Well, not just successful, history-making. For the first time in Premier League history on Saturday at St. Mary's, 3 substitutes scored in the same game. That is absolutely incredible to me. And I don't know about you, but I thought there'd be way more rotation than there was for this game. Maybe not the 8 that we saw in the previous 2, like Robin Olsen dramatic turnover, but I thought maybe Morgan Rogers might get a rest in place of, say, a Danielle Mallon. No, that just goes to show how seriously Unai Emery was taking this game, because I said on an earlier show, you can't go to win at Brentford, at Brighton, and then beat Forest, only to come to the 20th place team in the league and not get maximum points. And once again, Unai Emery's first group goes out and batters the opponent, forces them into a low block, forces them to shift and chase and get tired before sending on the fresh-legged difference makers. And this game follows a pattern we've seen before. 0-0 at halftime, 2 or 3-0 at the end. Bear in mind, we are Leon Bailey away from being fully fit. Ross Barkley couldn't even make the bench for this game. Somebody very good, maybe Andres Garcia, is going to be watching from a hospitality suite on Tuesday and potentially for our league games coming up. We're not in 3 competitions right now without this squad depth. Daniel Malen made it 3 goals in 3 Premier League games. A guy who was in the Champions League final last year, albeit just 10 minutes, can't even get into our Champions League squad because somebody had to be the odd man out. What a ball again and assist for Morgan Rogers, who picks him out. And again, just like at Brighton, Daniel Malen goes hard and low across the goalkeeper inside the far corner. You don't see that goal an awful lot because now wingers are inverted. There's a left-footed player on that side of the park cutting in and bending it left-footed in. No, Daniel Malen puts his head down and smashes it right-footed. And basically, it's game over there. Nice luxury to be able to bring on John McGinn late, and he was just that little bit fresher than everybody else when Aaron Ramsdale saved his second straight penalty. Look how far back the meatball is in the lead-up to that rebound. Amadou Onana gets a solid 89 minutes under his belt, but we can bring on Boubacar Kamara just to get his legs going that little bit in advance of Tuesday. And you just wonder, if Ross Barkley was available, whether he could have given Yuri Tielemans a little bit of a break, say at 2-0. But no, our Yuri goes the distance again. And the number 1 big moment that defined Southampton 0, Villa 3, Watkins winner. Again, we speak of the embarrassment of riches Aston Villa has at its disposal. Ollie Watkins comes onto the park, and less than 2 minutes later, he draws a penalty. Morgan Rogers, who had switched over to the left-hand side, plays a through ball. The deadly duo combine again as Watkins goes down. Literally his first action of the game. His former teammate and birthday boy, Jan Benderak. Oh boy, that name brings back dark memories. Brings him down. And Villa have a spot shot. And then 3 minutes after that penalty is saved, Watkins is at it again. And one of the knocks on our Ollie is that he seems to have a difficult time burying the more presentable, straightforward chances, but then somehow makes the most of the difficult ones. And the degree of difficulty on the 1-0 goal was extremely high. Yuri Tielemans, the conductor of our orchestra, waved his magic wand again. Not unlike the ball he played for Morgan Rogers against Nottingham Forest, but this one was almost intentionally overhit to sort of tease the goalkeeper but ask Watkins to get on the end of it. And just like the Morgan Rogers goal against Forest, it was Watkins who broke first, and that was the trigger. And Tielemans has been lights out on those. After Tielemans plays the ball, though, Watkins has to keep on sprinting at full speed while tracking the flight of the ball and being mindful of where Aaron Ramsdale was and then getting some kind of contact on the ball. And he does all 3 in spectacular fashion, off the crossbar and down even, to give it that aesthetic beauty, even though initially on TV it didn't look like it had crossed the line. And how about this for a celebration? This is the happiest I've seen Ollie Watkins in an awfully long time, and it's the second straight time that Ollie Watkins has scored the winner at St. Mary's. 2 years ago, he scored a goal that really kick-started his second half of the season and our run to Conference League. To get that goal so soon after the penalty miss, when heads could have rightfully dropped, was utterly pivotal in this game. As much as Yuri Tielemans was statistically spectacular on Saturday, the best player on the park according to many sites and their player ratings, the Sill Hill Brewery star performer has to be Ollie Watkins, because that first goal was kind of like tapping a keg. You know, once you do, the beer just keeps on flowing, and that's exactly what happened. Now, you may have noticed, if you were in France last week, the Sill Hill Brewery flag circulating around Gay Paris, and if you were photographed with that flag at any point, make sure you bring your phone and a copy of that photo to the tap room in Aston on Tuesday, and you will be duly rewarded for your vocal efforts at the Parc des Princes. And it's going to be buzzing at the tap room on Tuesday. Opens at 4 local time. And even after Villa squeaks through and past PSG on penalties, the tap room will be open afterwards late for a cheeky pint or 7. My season-long statistical tabulations were bolstered significantly across a number of categories on Saturday. Away points earned, Watkins and Rogers combined goals, Watkins edging ever closer to eclipsing Gabby Agbon-Lahore, and for the third season in a row, Ollie has contributed 20 goal involvements. That is consistent. We scored first, got a clean sheet, earned 2 penalties, although weren't able to connect on either to boost these set-piece stats. We also scored 2 goals in the final 15 minutes of the match, and once in the 61st to 75th minute segment. The difference in fouls earned stretched wider, but on the first day of semi-automated offside, there were none. Which brings us to the second leg of the quarter-final Champions League tie with Paris Saint-Germain. And in just 6 days, the PSG squad transfer value has increased again. Now, so has ours, but it's still a 250 million plus difference between our two squads. So many people are saying, gotta get an early first goal, gotta get an early first goal. No, we don't need an early first goal. We need the next goal. Doesn't matter if it happens in minute 71 or later, we must get the next goal, and we need a clean sheet if we have any chance here. This is the best opponent that will have graced Villa Park in a very long time, so we're going to need a Bayern Munich type effort, and that's going to mean we're going to have to suffer at stages because they're not going to sit back like Southampton did on Saturday or like we had to at their place. We need the next goal, and we need a clean sheet. That's the only way through. The big question, obviously, heading into Tuesday, who starts? And usually I'm dead wrong on all of these predictions internally in my own mind. So I'm going to share my thoughts publicly now, starting with the guys I think are the locked-in starters like Emi Martinez, obviously Yuri Tielemans and Boubacar Kamara. Morgan Rogers is an ever-present, and Marcus Rashford is going to start one way or the other, but I wonder if he's going to go on the left so that Ollie Watkins may start up front. I think that would cause more problems to Hakimi. There's a case to be made for Asensio or McGinn, but I think the captain is going to start, and then you can bring Asensio in off the bench. The biggest lineup issue we have and question going into Tuesday is at right back. And I thought it was a little bit harsh on Axel Dessasi to have to come in at halftime because Cash was on a yellow and he got skinned a few times, to then have to step in and face Kvaratskhelia, and he got skinned 4 minutes in. And he's not going to be the only defender in world football who's going to get skinned by the Prince of Georgia. And if you do manage to keep him at bay, you still have Nuno Mendes to deal with overlapping on that left-hand side. So does Axel Dessasi, as a pure defender and a proud Frenchman and a really combative, competitive guy, make the most sense with Boubacar Kamara supporting from midfield, Konza in behind, and Morgan Rogers chipping in as well? There's a debate to be had between Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings. Torres can play that long ball that can release a Marcus Rashford or an Ollie Watkins, but Tyrone Mings has been involved in this team with all these victories and clean sheets of late. If we are celebrating on Tuesday night and then deep into Wednesday morning, it will be one of the greatest moments in Aston Villa Football Club history, and all the chatter around goalkeeping and finishing academy on Friday night amongst us coaches was just how impressive PSG is and was, and what a tall order this is going to be. Now, take that game away and just look at the circumstances we're in. It is everything us Aston Villa fans could have dreamed of even 6 months ago when we were just entering into a little bit of a funk. Or how about 6 years ago when we were in the middle of our 10-game winning run on the road to championship promotion? These are great times no matter what happens. And until Tuesday, enjoy the spring sunshine. And of course, and as always, up the mighty Villa!